TNN out-of-state news team covering the out-of-state debates in the race for Senate in Pennsylvania and governor in Georgia and Florida. I am your political anchor, Triti Biswas from TNN News.
And I'm Billy Lee. We're coming to you live from the courtyard of Townsend Harris High School in Queens, New York. And we will be streamed on elections.townsendharris.org, the website, to be viewed by all across our great nation. So if you miss out on this adventure, you are surely living under a rock.
With Election Day itself following less than 1 week on November 7th, at the top of every ticket is a race for governor. Over the next 40 minutes, you'll hear from candidates who are running from the most powerful elected position in Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Florida.
Joining us today at this current moment is John Fetterman, Lieutenant Governor of Pennsylvania, and Dr. Oz. Who will be running for Senator of Pennsylvania. Brian Kemp and Stacey Abrams running for governor in Georgia and Ron DeSantis, and Charlie Crist running for governor of Florida.
Here are the rules for today's 40-minute debate. Each candidate will have 60 seconds to respond to questions. Will also be given 30 seconds to respond if he or she is directly addressed by his or her opponent.
Juniors were also given the opportunity to participate in this debate from home. We will be picking questions for the opportunity to have them join in on the conversation, if time permits. We begin now with short opening statements. The order was determined by a random drawing done by Ms. Levi. John Fetterman will go first. All right, John Fetterman. Today, Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman and Dr. Oz face to face with the first and only time. Both have been looking to prove they have what it takes to represent the people of Pennsylvania. Well, let's see which one has what it takes to rise to the U.S. Senate.
The first question. The minimum wage in Pennsylvania and at the national level currently sits at $7.25 an hour and has not been raised since 2009. Each of our neighboring states have raised minimum wages. You see them there on your screen, including New Jersey at $13 an hour and West Virginia at $8.75, but Pennsylvania has not followed suit. The first question is for you, Mr. Fetterman. Do you support raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour? Why or why not? You have 60 seconds.
Hi, thank you so much for the question. I do in fact support raising the minimum wage. I grew up in a working class family, so I know what the struggles are, and I know that the current minimum wage is not enough for the current state of the economy, the current state of the country, and it cannot provide Pennsylvanians and the rest of Americans with the needs that they need to survive. So yes, I do believe in raising the minimum wage.
Thank you for your response. Dr. Oz, what is your take on the issue?
Well, thank you for asking. Personally, I'm opposed to raising our minimum wage to the $15 mark, like our opposing states have. Personally, I feel like this isn't feasible for many of our successful small business owners around the state. Because truthfully, if you raise the minimum wage, you're going to end up with mass amounts of unemployment because employers aren't going to be able to hire as many employees as they have previously. And a job paying $7.25 an hour is a lot better than a job that doesn't exist. I'm working on bolstering our education in order to help people move past those $7.25 jobs into more successful and lucrative careers so people don't have to stay there and make their career at a minimum wage job.
John Fetterman, would you like to take the opportunity to respond to his claim?
Yes, I would. Wildly concerned that raising the minimum wage might harm business owners, it is unrealistic to think that, first of all, there is a majority non-business owners than business owners. So by raising the minimum wage, you're helping the majority. And bettering education will not help if kids don't have the resources they need to to do well in their education. Parents cannot afford proper materials for their children and proper schooling if they are not paid well.
Thank you. Dr. Oz, any final closing on that question? 30
I
seconds.
would love to add some closing statements. So what you've told me is that there's more employees than there is employers, which I mean is just genius on your part. Personally, but if you make those employers struggle, who are they going to employ? Because they still rely on the people who are paying their wages. So yes, you're raising it for the majority of workers who are working a wage salary, but if the employers can't pay for it, it doesn't matter.
Thank you both for your insight. Now, moving on to the second question. Both of you have taken shifting positions on the issue of fracking. Pennsylvania only trails Texas in terms of natural gas production. Mr. Oz, Dr. Oz, we'll begin with you. You wrote a column in 2014 calling for no fracking pending health study results. Then in a video posted on social media in March, you said, natural gas guarantees high-paying skilled jobs right here in Pennsylvania. So back off, Biden. Give us freedom to frack. Dr. Oz, please explain this changing position. 60 seconds.
So I would like to first point out that John Fetterman has also flip-flopped on this issue, previously supporting the right to frack, but now all of a sudden denying it. My current position is that I want to save our energy jobs here in Pennsylvania. We employ hundreds of thousands of people just in our state alone. It brings in billions of dollars of revenue every single year. So we need to focus on our jobs that we have in our coal and gas industries to provide the money that we need. We can't just switch to renewable energy on a dime. That doesn't mean it can't happen at all, but when things like solar panels are being bought out from countries like China, that doesn't improve the money or the income of any workers here in America. So I support the right to frack and the right to natural gas jobs to secure the paycheck for that working family, the coal miners, so they know where their next paycheck is coming from and how they're going to feed their children in the next week.
Thank you for your answer. Mr. Fetterman, we have a specific question, which you can continue on this topic, but you have made two conflicting statements regarding fracking. In 2018 interview, you said, quote, "I don't support fracking at all, I never have." But earlier this month, you told the interviewer, "I support fracking, I support the energy independence that we should have here in the United States." So, Mr. Fetterman, please explain your changing position. 60 seconds.
I do believe that clean energy is the way to go. However, similar to how Dr. Oz said, it is unrealistic to think that we can just simply erase thousands and thousands of jobs that are being produced by fossil fuel mining companies. So I want to transfer into clean energy smoothly, and that doesn't come from simply closing down companies that produce fossil fuels.
Thank you for your response. We will move on to a question from the viewing audience. So this question is from Ellison Dayon, and this is intended for Dr. Oz. After giving a speech in front of Hitler's car, which was still emblazoned with a swastika at a fundraiser, you were met with a lot of backlash. Many news outlets who have published this story remarked that they had reached out to you, but were never given a response from you or your team. Why did you choose not to respond? What do you have to say about this situation? Do you stand by it, or do you think the people are justified in their outrage? You have 60 seconds.
Now, the reason I never replied to those comments because I simply think that it's an attempt to grasp at straws to where Democrats don't want to focus on my policies and my laws that I want to pass. They want to focus on the background of my speeches, which I don't think is important at all to what I actually offer to Pennsylvanians in terms of what I was standing in front of. Obviously, it goes without saying that Hitler and the Nazis were very bad. I don't know if you've heard of them. I shouldn't have to come out here and denounce those sort of things. And I think it's a waste of my time and the waste of Americans' time to focus on such trivial issues that don't actually speak to what I'm telling them. What I'm telling them is I want to bring their jobs back. I want to lower their taxes. I want to lower inflation. Most people don't want to hear about, well, he was standing in front of this car. I don't think that's important and says anything about my policy.
Thank you for your response, Mr. Fetterman. After suffering a stroke in May, your opponent and his supporters have deemed you unfit for a Senate position because of how it has impacted your speech, comprehension, and recognition. Alongside the other side effects of your recovery, what comments do you have about this? And in your honest opinion, do you think this will impact your ability to represent the people of Pennsylvania in the Senate? You have 60 seconds.
Yes, I did have a stroke earlier in the year. However, I've been in the government since 2006. That's almost 20 years that I've been working for people's rights. So I don't believe that this will impact my ability to govern, to be a senator of Pennsylvania. I am right now lieutenant governor. I know how to do my job. Furthermore, the fact that I am recovering rapidly from my stroke, and we've even had presidents like Roosevelt who were in a wheelchair in the time of their, while they were president. So I don't believe that having a stroke will impact my ability because I've been doing this for a long time. I know how to do it well. Unlike Dr. Oz, who, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe they teach anything about politics in medical school.
Dr. Oz, would you like to respond to that, but briefly?
I would like to respond to that. I think it's incredibly misleading to say it would not affect your ability at all. You didn't touch on how you can barely hear reporters' questions. We've had speeches where it's barely intelligible what you're saying, and now as a doctor, I feel for you and I wish you a speedy recovery. I pray no malice on anyone who has suffered any condition, but when it comes to our politicians, we can't dilly-dally on this issue. We can't have politicians who can't even hear your concerns and can't convey themselves properly. You've seen Joe Biden's speeches. He's basically unintelligible at this point. We don't need more of that.
Governor do? What would you do or continue to do as governor to help Georgians and seek immediate relief? And we will start with Mr. Kemp.
What I did was that I gave $1 billion back to the people of Georgia and another $1 billion to help pay for houses. Additionally, I have given roughly $100 million in addition to that to help the homeless to find homes.
Stacy, do you have any comments about this issue?
I want to prioritize affordable housing. I believe that right now we have too many people from out-of-state businesses and companies owning our housing. I think if we give back to the Georgian communities, we're able to help them with their housing and just help make it affordable for all.
Democrats are useless!
Thank you for your answers. In addition to the economy, crime is a big issue on the minds of Georgian people. People don't feel safe in Atlanta, experiencing record violent crime right now. People don't feel safe going for a run, putting gas in their car, or going to the mall. So what should be and what can be done for the Georgian people to feel safe? We will start with Ms. Abrams, 60 seconds.
Rest in peace, Takeoff.
I'm glad that you actually mentioned this. Right now, Takeoff have died from gun violence, and I believe that in Georgia we have to appeal criminal carry, which is a law that allows people who do not deserve to have guns have it concealed in public. I believe that we should repeal criminal carry, which Brian Kemp has enforced, and allow for us to have people to have universal background checks that help protect those with domestic violence or other prior histories from getting guns. Thank you.
Criminal carry, you mean carry? What I have done was that I have made it so basically made it so that for people who are accused of the crime, I made getting bail easier. However, I have increased the punishments and the effects of a confirmed crime, meaning that I have made laws that increase the punishment of crime.
And now we have another question from the viewing audience. So, this question is from Shamira Guan, and this is for both Abrams and Kemp. What are your opinions on affirmative action in college admissions? As you may have heard in the news, the topic of affirmative action is currently poised to be on the docket in the Supreme Court of the United States. Do you believe it is necessary to consider a student's racial, economic, and social background in the admission process in addition to their academic profile? If so, then what should the ratio of importance be when considering these factors of a student's profile? Mr. Kemp, you may proceed.
I don't think we should have affirmative action within the United States. In fact, I think we should actually base education on two things: need, and based on the economic situation you are in, and second is based on your qualifications to use that federal funding and to use that college education effectively.
On this, I think I would actually agree with you, Mr. Kemp. I believe that social mobility and sorry. And I believe that if you were to have affirmative action, it starts to take away the chances from people to actually achieve quality education. I believe that we should not consider your race, but actually your knowledge and your content. I think affirmative action takes away from that, and this is my views. Thank you.
Thank you so much to you both. This does conclude our debate. We do want to thank our candidates for being with us, Mr. Kemp and Ms. Abrams. By the U.S. Supreme Court, abortion policy is being left up to the states. What are specific examples of changes to Florida's laws on abortion would you pursue in the next legislative session?
Well, first off, let me say that it's nice to see Mr. Christ here, okay? I wasn't sure if he was going to show up. Usually they say better late than never, but might have been a little less embarrassing for you if you hadn't come.
Get here on time, Charlie Christ!
Well, to address the issue here, we in the Florida legislature, we are against the concept of baby murder, okay? We do not want to murder babies here. Unlike my opponent, who seems to be okay with this sort of concept. We think that this is a human life, isn't it? This sperm and egg have combined, and they're creating the miracle of life, God's gift to humanity. This is not something that we should just be taking for granted and throwing away. Yeah! Anti-baby murder.
Good job, Ron.
Mr. Chris? So after Mr. DeSantis' spirited speech, I would like to make the point that we're not fighting. This issue is not what Mr. DeSantis made it about. This issue is about freedom. This issue is about autonomy for women. This issue is about the right to choose. This issue is about caring for the women of our state. Does Mr. DeSantis care for women of our state? No, he does not. He does not care for you. He does not care for Floridians. Remember, this election season, care with Chris.
Mr. DeSantis, would you like to respond? You have 15 seconds.
Of course. Mr. Chris says that he cares about the people. This is a complete lie, okay? 10 years ago, Mr. Chris was out there in the House of Representatives fighting against abortion. Why the sudden change of heart, Mr. Chris? And you said you care about women. How many times were you divorced again?
Mr. Chris, you have the opportunity to respond.
So he likes to bring up my divorces. Is that all he has? My 2 divorces? I was divorced twice and I'm still more of a family man than him. I'm the only one who cares for families in this state. When millions were left homeless after Hurricane Ian, what did he do? After millions were left homeless after Hurricane Ian, he cut housing funds. He left millions of families homeless. Is that the kind of family man you want to vote for?
Thank you, Mr. Chris. It's interesting that you bring up Hurricane Ian because finding affordable housing is a problem in Florida that has only been compounded by Hurricane Ian.
What are your specific proposals for making housing more affordable for all Floridians in the next 4 years? Mr. DeSantis, you may go first.
We believe that everybody in the state of Florida should be able to live in a house. That's just a pretty basic human right that we believe in. That's why we have been investing millions of dollars to develop affordable housing. While these Democrats here have done nothing about the economic problems that have ravaged people's livelihoods across the entire country while Joe Biden has been in office. Okay, inflation is at an all-time high. People are struggling to make ends. And what do the Democrats do? They keep enacting policies. They are raising your taxes. They are raising your inflation. They are making life harder for you. Why would you ever vote for them?
After Hurricane Ian, millions were left homeless. And what did Mr. DeSantis do? Mr. DeSantis let the Sadowski Trust Fund, a fund used for buying affordable housing for those who needed it, get cut in half. He cut housing protections for millions. He made sure that after this horrible tragedy happened to our state, millions who lost their houses couldn't even get insurance anymore. He made sure that millions of Floridians would be homeless for the coming winter. He says all these empty words about housing policies, yet he is unwilling to do anything about the true problems that plague our state. Where were the millions in housing funds when millions of our Floridians were left homeless, huh? Where were they? They're homeless on the streets now.
Mr. DeSantis, you are allowed to respond to that very briefly.
Everything that my opponent is saying is a complete lie. Although I don't know why I'd expect anything better from a Democrat. You keep saying how horrible my policies were after Hurricane Ian. We all know that's not true. Even Joe Biden said that's not true. And under my leadership, the Florida economy is stronger than it has ever been. Our unemployment is lower than ever. Our economic growth is higher than ever. Why would we take this chance with somebody like this?
Thank you so much for your answer.
Mr. Chris, you may respond briefly, but we must get moving.
Mr. DeSantis is nothing but a liar. He's cheated Floridians out of millions of jobs. The film industry has left Florida. Millions of industries have left Florida, all because of his inaction. Remember, this coming election season, I will make sure that you get a job. I will make sure that you are free and have a house and have a roof over your head for the coming winter. Remember, care with Chris, everyone.
Thank you for your answer. There is one more question from the viewing audience. This is by Sophia K. The Don't Say Gay law has been passed earlier this year by Ron DeSantis. However, it has already been met by a lot of backlash from educators, parents, and students. As future Florida state governors, will you be repealing this law or keeping it in response? Do you think this law infringes on the people's right to free expression and liberty? As educators are not allowed to discuss this topic without punishments, as well as threatening their whole career. You have 60 seconds to respond.
Ron DeSantis, you can go first.
Right. First of all, I fully stand by this bill, okay? The Parental Rights and Education Act, while you say that it is taking away people's freedoms, I think the opposite. I think that it is giving people more freedom in being able to have more control over their children's education. These sorts of topics are being indoctrinated into your children, starting at kindergarten. The Democrats are planting their ideas in these children's young, developing brains. Is that really something that you think is proper to do to kindergarteners? All I'm doing is giving parents the opportunity to decide what is best for their children. Mr. Chris, you're a parent, right? If somebody in a school tried to teach your child things that you know are wrong and disagree with, are you okay with that?
Thank you so much for your answer. You can respond back.
My opponent here is using pretty My opponent here is using pretty words to cover up the nasty truth. He wants to indoctrinate your children with his own homophobic and racist rhetoric. He wants to make sure that your kids are indoctrinated into a radical Republican scheme of nothing but racist and homophobic lies. I'm here to make sure that your children have freedom of thought, that your children can do what they want and learn what they want in our schools. I'm here to make sure that you all, students yourselves, can kiss the homies. Do you want to live in a world like that? A world where you can't kiss the homies? Is that the world you want to live in? I'm here to make sure that you have that freedom. Remember, Charlie Chris will let you kiss the homies.
All right. Mr. DeSantis, you can respond to that.
You're on my side. I know. I'm saying I wouldn't bother with you. You're on fire today.
Please hold on to your animals.
First of all, the things Mr. Chris keeps saying here are outright lies. I am not trying to indoctrinate your children. I am trying to keep your children free from indoctrination. I am not taking away your freedoms. I am giving you more freedoms in your children's education. And I am not telling you you can't kiss the homies. I am telling you that it's better to kiss the homies.
Thank you, Mr. DeSantis. All right, you can briefly respond. Very briefly, we have to wrap up.
Look at his empty excuses. He can't even guarantee to you that you can kiss the homies. Is that the kind of governor you want to vote for? Students have been suspended for talking about LGBTQ plus ideas in Floridian schools. Just talking about those ideas. What do you think he's gonna do when you kiss the homies? Is that the kind of world you want to live in? Is that the kind of world you want to live in? Remember, this coming election, care with Chris.
All right, thank you so much. This does conclude our debate. We want to thank our candidates for being with us, and for you all at home who have been watching, thank you so much.
Candidates are speaking, so no boos, jeers, or very loud applause during their speech. Thank you.
All right, good morning. From Townsend Harris High School in Flushing, we're Leo
and Kristen
from the radio shows, and we welcome you to the 2021 Election Sim Debates. Today, the debate will be split up into two bands, 3A and 3B, you are 3A, where half of the New York candidates will debate in each band. To clarify, there will be no out-of-state candidates, since that debate happened yesterday during 8th band.
And in this debate, we have the candidates for the 5th, 11th, and 14th congressional districts, as well as the candidates for New York State Comptroller and the U.S. Senate. In this debate, the Democrat candidate will respond to each question first. They will have exactly 1 minute to respond, and their opponent will also have exactly 1 minute to respond. And they will each have 30 seconds for their rebuttals. The candidates were given the topics beforehand, but none of the questions were shared. And just as a reminder, we ask the audience to remain silent during the debate, except for right now. Please give a round of applause to the candidates.
All right, let's begin. Please welcome to the podium. For the 11th Congressional District, we have Max Rose and Nicole Mather-Tunis. Your topic is on sexual abuse. According to Assets Speak CDN, 32.3% of New York women experience domestic violence and stalking from their partner in their lifetime. What can be done to lower these statistics? Max Rose.
Mic's working? Perfect. I thought so starting off with sexual abuse, I am pro-choice for abortion rights and for women to have access to reproductive health care. What can be done to dissolve sexual violence against women is to have control on prohibition for gun violence, because it is reported that gun violence is one of the leading factors in domestic violences in intimate relationships.
Do you get time? Who's going to talk to you?
Well, I believe that sexual abuse stems from multiple aspects, including gender inequality and social economic status. As a woman myself, it is truly heartbreaking to see that many women are victimized by the imbalance in power amongst their genders. Since my last election, I have fought to prevent sexual assault in the military, and I have kept registered sex offenders off of New York City streets. And it all boils down to public safety. What has Max Rose done for public safety, he asks? Well, he has defunded the police, and I believe that we need the police to keep our people safe. And I will use everything in my power to prevent sexual abusers from harming more people. And I will pass more bills and become a voice for the unheard.
Thank you, Ms. Maritakis. Thank you. Mr. Rose, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
I have no idea where she obtained information that I am for defunding the police. As someone who has served in uniform myself, I am aware of the issues and hardships that are placed on our law enforcement every day. That is why I believe in increasing our investment in law enforcement, make sure that they're well trained and have the skills that they need and resources to meet the standards that are placed on them every day.
Thank you. Ms. Maritakis, you have 30 seconds.
Well, I believe that we need to do more to listen to our police and give them the tools that they're asking for. I believe that they need more equipment and more staff in general. And I believe that we need to help them do their job. Instead, what we have are politicians that are trying to tie their hands, take away their resources, and change laws so that people are not being kept behind bars. I have enforced the prosecutors need to prosecute acts in order to prosecute criminals and keep them behind bars.
Thank you so much.
We have the 5th Congressional District. Please come up to the podium, Gregory Meeks and Paul King. As you know, this year, Hurricane Ian has rampaged through Florida and possibly caused up to $74 billion in damage, according to Axios. Similarly, in New York City, Hurricane Sandy in 2012 caused $60 billion in damage, according to the Washington Post. As these destructive hurricanes become frequent, how will you strive to protect shoreline communities like the Rockaways against rising severities of oceanic storms?
So for Hurricane Fiona, I worked with Senator Kristen to help raise over $1 billion in food relief packages and relief packages. My bad. As Gregory Meeks, I've done a lot for natural disasters. And let me tell you, natural disasters are being caused by global warming. And global warming is something that needs to be addressed. What have I done for natural disasters? By working with Senator Kristen, I've helped raise over $1 billion in food relief and assistance packages for Caribbean islands and areas hurt mostly by Hurricane Fiona.
And Mr. King, you may respond.
Yes, so I'm also very adamant about protecting our coastal infrastructure, such as Rockaway Beach, because I've lived in Rockaway for 50 years. Talking about the environment, climate change and rising sea levels are issues that need to be addressed and that Meeks hasn't addressed. And as the community, we must reduce participation in harmful activities that will remove greenhouse gases from our environment. America needs to be more energy independent, and we can do that by using more renewable, cleaner energy sources like nuclear energy.
Thank you, Mr. Meeks and Mr. King. You will have 30 seconds for your rebuttal. Mr. Meeks starts first.
Okay. I mean, you said we need to focus on renewable energy. Last I checked, you don't even support the Inflation Reduction Act. Doesn't that support, isn't that the whole point of, climate change, to help reduce emissions by 40%? And you don't even support that? Like, come on. You want to know what I've done? I've helped support the Inflation Reduction Act. Not only that, I do plan on increasing funding for green energy solutions, such as nuclear energy and other various power plants, such as solar power plants. What this does is it not only...
That is the end of your time. Mr. King,
You really want to talk about funding? Okay, let's talk about the $200,000 you stole from the campaign money. You could have used that for environmental causes, and you're talking about increasing government funds. Where do you think that's coming from? You talk about tax cuts, but if you are asking for government funding, high tax rates will come back. where is this money coming from? Their pockets. So then you're not really helping anything. You're not helping climate, you're not helping other stuff, and on top of that, the $200,000, he used it for his personal expense such as cars.
That is the end of your time.
That's welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Up next.
Up next, please welcome to the podium, the race for New York State Comptroller, Thomas DiNapoli and Paul Rodriguez.
Yes, Thomas DiNapoli! I love you!
Your question is about housing. According to the office, thank you. According to the Office of the New York State Comptroller, New York State has the lowest home ownership rate in the nation, driven by low rates in New York City. Only 53.6% of New York households owned a home in the second quarter of 2022, compared to 65.8% nationally. Additionally, in 2022, interest rates for mortgages have skyrocketed to record highs, making it nearly impossible for many to take out mortgages. What can be done to increase the home ownership rate?
So first off, I want to start by saying thank you for having me. I'm glad that housing is one of the topics we'll be discussing, as especially now with the effects of COVID-19. Affordable housing is a leading concern among New Yorkers. The city doesn't need any more high-end housing for the top 1%. If you want to have a city with equal opportunity, we need to make sure that everybody has access to affordable housing. See, this is something my opponent Paul Rodriguez will have a hard time understanding due to him being in high-end finance on Wall Street, representing this top 1%. So now I want you to think about it. If 50% or more of what you earn is going towards your mortgage or rent, what does that give you to live with? That's why when it comes to this, my focus is on providing affordable housing throughout New York so that you can sleep happily.
I really like how you are all talk and no action. First of all, you like to say that I have no experience being poor, that I wouldn't have the insights of knowing how the working class family feels. I grew up being poor. I grew up in a low-income household, and I had to work my way up to being a Wall Street professional. And secondly, for housing, you have let 2,000 housing units be in New York City being unaffordable. For each housing unit, there has to be a certain amount of units that are affordable for it to be legal. But you have let buildings be in Manhattan that are only for the rich. And that does not support your affordable housing. Additionally, if you want to increase the budget, you want to continue increasing taxes for the citizens, which doesn't help in affordable housing because they'll have less money in their pockets to pay for rent.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think the thing you're forgetting is that raising taxes will actually allow us to support our city's infrastructure. See, right now, taxes like the property tax are capped at 2%, while the rate of inflation for New York is at 7.1%. If anything, we need to be raising certain taxes to account for this change in the economy and actually make sure that New York is a safe place and that it is one that we're able to keep developing. Thank you.
I think a lot of what you're saying conflicts with your other policies. If you want inflation to decrease, why are we increasing taxes? Increasing taxes means you get more budget, but you keep spending more from the budget. We don't have a state spending cap. All we do is keep throwing money at problems instead of learning how to manage the money properly. And so you just keep taking more and more money from the people, claiming that you're going to save their lives, saving the housing crisis, but instead you just keep throwing more money at problems.
Up next, we have the 14th Congressional District. Please welcome AOC and Tina Forden. Your first question will be on immigration. As many illegal immigrants are being pushed into NYC, the city has had to come up with solutions to accommodate them. Recently, Mayor Adams has proposed moving many of these immigrants into your district. Is there a better solution? And if yes, what plans are you hoping to incorporate?
So when it comes to the issue of immigration, I think it's important that we realize that immigrants that come to this country are actually humans that deserve to be valued and supported. I support
support making sure that immigrants that have temporary protected status have better paths to citizenship because they are so valuable to our society. I also want to make sure that the president doesn't have the right to deport people based on their nationality. It's something that should be valued, and we have to realize that immigrants bring diversity, they bring community, and they bring much value, not only to our community, but the communities in New York. I think it's necessary that New York is a place where immigrants can come to, where they're supported and where they're funded. I also want to make sure that veterans that are undocumented have rights to citizenship. I want to make sure that undocumented people that helped in the cleanup of 9/11 have passed to citizenship. It's important to make sure that we can legalize them because that is the way to make America more safe, to make New York more safe, and to make sure that our communities are supported from the root to their actions. Thank you.
I definitely agree with that point that these immigrants are very important to our country. We are a nation of immigrants, and we're much better because of it. See, I'm a strong proprietor for legal immigration, not illegal immigration, like AOC is. AOC and her socialist allies are creating a crisis at our southern border and letting these undocumented immigrants come into our country, taking away jobs and ruining our economy. So I want to streamline the process for skilled workers to come into the United States and New York to help boost our economy, which is why I support immigration and customs enforcement and customs and border protection, because it'll keep these illegal immigrants out and bring the legal immigrants in the right way.
And now we will have 30 seconds for rebuttals.
You talk about increasing crime at the border, you talk about increasing criminals coming to our country, meanwhile your husband and your son were the ones that got busted for having guns and drugs, and you care about immigrants bringing them in. You also say you support migrants, but you were the one that protested at Randall Island in the Bronx when migrants were being there to be taken care of. You said they were undeserving of the food, the water, and the nourishment and care that they were given. You don't care about immigrants. You want to kick people out. You don't care about making sure that they have the actual resources necessary.
And that is the end of our time.
I do care about immigrants, and what happened to my husband and my son had nothing to do with me. I do not endorse their behavior at all. In fact, I even disown my son. I do not even consider him my son at all. He is not authority right now. See, AOC does not acknowledge that out of all the crime that happened in New York City, there's statistics that show that 21% happened from undocumented immigrants. From such a small group of people, 21% is such a substantial number.
That is the end of our time.
It's increasing crime.
Get off the stage!
Let's move on to the second topic.
Let's maybe answering the second question. So stay up on your podium.
Or if you guys don't disagree, we still have a second
We
topic.
still have a second question.
Thank you. Okay. Your second topic is on transit crime. Subway crime has increased by 40% in the last year in New York City. Although this seems like a jarring spike, some of it is attributed to a massive increase in ridership since the pandemic. What policies do you plan to enact to reduce transit crime and ensure the safety of riders?
So when it comes to transit crime, I think it's necessary to realize that my position as a House representative doesn't give me the actual power to directly affect the police of New York, because that is the role of the governor and the mayor. What I want to do on the federal level is make sure that we can decrease crime completely. I want to decrease poverty, which is the root cause of crime. Through the Green New Deal, I want to make sure that we can increase public housing access to help make sure that those that are homeless in the transit systems actually have places to go. I want to make sure that those that are homeless have access to food, water, shelter, education, and health care. Things that will help decrease crime at its root causes. And when it comes to increasing police, I actually support defunding the police, because when it comes down to these things, they don't actually stop crime. And the increase of crime, as said earlier, was because of the increase of ridership after the pandemic. And what we need to realize is that crime rates were actually higher in 2019 than they are now. It's because of violent crime that's highlighted in media that we don't actually realize that the majority of crimes are non-violent crimes.
And that is the end of your time.
AOC just dodged the question completely. She's talking about the federal level when we're focusing on New York City transit. See, with these devs in charge, crime in New York City is rising exponentially. And without police, who's going to help us?
Why does she want to defund the police, and who's going to help us when this crime is happening inevitably? See, I acknowledge the argument that the NYPD might be corrupt, which is why we shouldn't abolish them. We want to fix the corruption within the police department. I want to continue backing the blue, and that's why I support the Justice Reform Act, which will reform our NYPD, take out these corrupt officers, and leave these good ones to protect our city from these rising crime rates.
Thank you. 30 seconds for rebuttal.
I don't think Ms. Forty understands her position as a House representative because at the federal level, you don't have direct access to control the police. That's the governor and the mayor. And speaking after that, when it comes to decreasing crime, we have to understand that poverty is the root cause of it, and that is a long-term situation that we need to work towards. When it comes to decreasing transit crime at the moment, I think it's necessary to make sure that we can help those that are in poverty get out of it. That means also ending eviction bans and making it easier for people to be homeless, because that is why the increase of crime is so high at the time. And when it comes to supporting the police, Tina Forty, didn't you storm the Capitol?
Thank you, Ms. President. Ms. Forty, 30 seconds.
See, AOC, I don't think you understand what our job is in the House of Representatives. We have to represent our people in District 14. We have to represent New York City in the national level. That is our job. Not focus on the country as a whole, but focus on us in this District 14. See, I have a question for you. Who is going to help us if we defund the police, if we don't have police in New York City? Who is going to help us when this crime is going to happen? See, with the Justice Reform Act, we're going to increase law enforcement and transparency.
Thank you.
Please give it up for AOC and Ms. Forty. And finally, for this session, we will have the U.S. Senate. Please come up Chuck Schumer and Joe Pinion. Press conference by Community Service Society disclosed that half of New Yorkers have reported that they are not confident in being able to afford basic health care, and 3/4 say that systemic racism within healthcare is an overwhelming problem. What is your position on all individuals receiving high-quality, affordable, and non-discriminatory health care, and policies will you introduce to address healthcare concerns brought up by these New Yorkers?
Joe Pinion first. I said Joe Pinion first or Chuck Schumer first? Okay. Chuck Schumer. Okay, so I have already introduced the Inflation Reduction Act, which included a package to lower healthcare costs and drug prices costs. I've also already expanded the Affordable Care Act through 2025, which lowered health insurance premiums, and all of this would help in mitigating the effects of high healthcare costs. And I also want to point out that not a single Republican voted to lower healthcare costs. So I think that's something to be worth noting in terms of whether we want to add another Republican to Senate who will vote against your needs and vote against your care and your health care. I also want to mention that I capped the price of out-of-pocket prescription drug costs through Medicare, and I've also capped the price of insulin copays, and I've also funded Medicaid through the American Rescue Plan. So the work is already being done. If I'm elected, I will continue to do the work. Thanks.
Mr. Pinion.
Yeah, so I think it's funny that every single Democrat goes back to the idea of that the IRA is going to help people, right? What the IRA is going to do, and it's been said by both experts from Republican and the Democratic Party, that the IRA is going to add trillions and trillions of dollars into the federal debt. And you can look at me however you want, but that's just a matter of fact, right? Well, one thing that I want to say is that Chuck Schumer will say that I don't have any policies. Joe Pinion is just pointing fingers. But the truth is, Chuck Schumer is a failure of a senator who has done nothing in the nearly half of a century that he's been in office, right? There's no equity in our health system. And I, as a person of color, know that especially, not an 80-year-old white man, right? Under your leadership, there is no good healthcare system. Health centers are nowhere to be found. Right? We need to focus on helping the people. Healthcare centers are the backbone of our healthcare system, and we need to deliver that because under the Democrats' leadership, under Chuck Schumer, this has not been the case. We need to allocate resources to help our health crisis.
We will have 3 seconds. Starting now.
What you have just witnessed is a Republican in their natural habitat, focusing on what I've been doing and not a single word on their own policy and solution. He's also lied to you. The Inflation Reduction Act will decrease the federal deficit by $300 billion through its 15% corporation tax. You propose cutting taxes for the rich. I say we should tax the rich. And I've also done a 30% tax cut and tax credit refund for the working class, which is the common person. So you're
What did I just tell you? She's going to say that I don't have any policies, right? This is the Democrats at work, right? This is the entirety of Chuck Schumer's campaign. It's just saying, I don't have any policies. I do. I'll tell you about them, right? The IRA is going to...
You're talking about my policies, talking about yours.
Well, I will. Can you just let me talk? Yeah, so he's going to say that the IRA is going to help the American people, maybe in the short run, but let's look at it in practice, right? It's been in effect, and inflation has increased, right?
Thank you, Mr. Pinion. Your second topic is the economy. The IRS is increasing federal taxes to combat inflation, which can be a burden to many. How will you help Americans maintain financial stability in a time of high inflation? Mr. Schumer?
So I have proposed the Economic Justice Act, and it's passed. It invested $350 billion in communities to recover and bolster the economy after COVID-19. I also passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which will also decrease taxes for the working class and increase taxes for the rich, corporations, people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and all those type of people, not the working class. So what he says is that Democrats love to spend, which is true. A working government needs to spend money for their people. However, the issue with Republicans and the issue that Donald Trump started is that the government was spending money without replenishing money because of the billions and trillions in tax cuts that they gave to the rich, not for working class people. So we want to bring back those taxes for rich people so we can fund our programs and keep the economy strong.
I think that if you had any research regarding my policies, you would know that Chuck Schumer is just spewing a whole bunch of bogus. So let's talk about it, right? Chuck Schumer is saying how inflation after COVID has increased. He is trying to fix those issues, right? But the matter of the fact is that inflation has been an issue since way before COVID. It's been an issue for decades. And who's been in office for decades? Chuck Schumer, right? Okay, so one thing that Chuck Schumer did, CHIPS Act. Right? $6 trillion into the economy. What is that going to do? That is only going to increase our federal deficit, right? This $6 trillion does not ensure that we have the proper resources to sustain shipbuilding. It's like walking into a steakhouse that doesn't have a supply of beef, right? From both sides of the political spectrum, you can see how Chuck Schumer's initiatives have failed, right? The outcome of these acts are that people are losing thousands upon thousands of dollars in their pockets, and we need to cut taxes and this is my policy, right, that you clearly don't know, but my policy is that we need to cut taxes for the middle class. We need to build a middle class.
So like I already said, I propose cutting taxes for the middle class and increasing taxes for the 1%. Which will address some issues that Joe Pinion has mentioned. And I have been working hard since the decades that I have been in office to address these problems. Following Hurricane Sandy, following 9/11, I invested $4 billion into New York, specifically for recovery. I've also passed the CHIPS Act, which added 50,000 jobs to upstate New York to make it into a manufacturing hub. Because I want to bring
Thank you so much, Mr. Schumer.
Like I just said, these are organic issues, two issues that aren't getting fixed, right? You've been in office for nearly half of a century, and inflation has gotten worse, our healthcare has gotten worse, our education has gotten worse. We have the same people, the same career politicians running for office over and over and over and over and over again. And these issues are being, and the same ideas are being used to tackle these issues, and they've been proven to be ineffective, right? Because if you vote for Chuck Schumer, then nothing's going to change. Inflation is only rising. If you look at the chart, inflation has been rising steadily in the past few decades. Nothing's going to change if you don't vote out these career politicians. Nothing.
Thank you, Mr. Pinion.
Now we will open the floor up to questions from our audience. So you can ask any of our candidates on stage currently who's gone through this round a question. Does anyone have a question? We'll get the mic to you.
So, to Judge Schumer, you did mention that you're going to raise the taxes for the rich, but how about, we all know that most rich people like to do tax evasion. Take Donald Trump, he has like 100 million in debt because of he's been evading taxes. What will you do to fix that? Tax evasion.
So when it comes to white-collar crime, I support the IRS and the IRS agents when it comes to investigating these rich Wall Street brokers who evade their taxes and steal money from the American people. So I suggest working with the IRS, and there are both Democrats and Republicans who are proposing to get rid of IRS agents, and I think that there are different ways to address that problem so that the IRS can effectively pursue those criminals who are ultimately stealing money from the American people.
Thank you, Mr. Schumer.
All right. Thank you all so much for coming to the debate. We hope you had fun. I know we did. I hope the candidates also had fun. Have a great 3B band. And have a good last week of election season.
Please listen when you exit.
All right. Good morning from Townsend Harris High School in Flushing. We're Leo.
And Kristen.
From the radio shows, and we welcome you to the 2021 Election Sim Debates. Today, the debate will be split up into two bands, 3A and 3B, you are all 3B, where half of the New York candidates will debate in each band. To clarify, there will be no out-of-state candidates since that debate happened yesterday during 8th band.
And in this debate, we have the candidates for the 7th Congressional District, 7th Senate District, New York State Governor, New York State Attorney General, and the Queen's Court Civil Judge. In this debate, candidate will respond to each question first, and each candidate will have exactly 1 minute to respond before switching off to their opponent. Both candidates will each then have 30 seconds for rebuttal. The candidates were given the topics beforehand, but none of the questions were shared. Just as a reminder, again, we ask you guys to remain silent during the debate, except for right now. Please give a round of applause to the candidates.
The race for the Queen's Civil Court Judge, Karen Lynn and William Shanahan. Your topic will be general legal issues. What are the most common legal issues dealt with in the Queen's Civil Court? And what do you believe is the most effective way to deal with each of these cases?
Alright guys, so I just want to tell you guys something really interesting about my legal career. Not only have I dealt with criminal litigation, I've dealt with civil litigation. Not only have I prosecuted criminals, I have defended criminals. Not only have I protected the rights of tenants, I have protected the rights of landlords. The list is going on and on. You know, I've dealt with medical malpractices and fraudulent lawsuits. And so I have a very dynamic legal career, very balanced one. And a lot of issues are going to arise. And you know how I deal with them? How every attorney should. I just enforce the law. I simply just do that. Because that's the only way we can make sure that our judicial system is fair. And as a judge, I will make sure that I will be impartial and that everyone's voices is heard.
Good one. Let's go, William.
Alright, so.
Yes, Karen.
Question by the way. So usually as a judge, you have to be impartial, and you've done with a lot of things. So I've been a housing court judge, you know, an actual judge. I kind of experience in this thing. You've never been a judge, have you, Mr. Shanahan?
Oh.
Experience. So let me tell you guys a big difference though, right? You have to help people. You have a side already. As a judge, you have to make the decision from the evidence. You're trying to enforce law. I have to interpret the law. It's a completely different thing. So, as a judge, I've been a housing court judge, and I've been a court referee, I've been a counselor for the New York State Senate. I have experience all over the judge, all over the courtrooms, right? He doesn't. He just has one role, right?
So you have to manage the courtroom. Do you know how to manage the courtroom, Mr. Shanahan? I don't think so.
Thank you, Ms. Lynn. Mr. Shanahan, your 30 seconds for rebuttal.
Well, Carolyn, have you ever heard of the irrelevancy clause? Because your claim there is irrelevant. Because the New York City Bar Association has said, oh, Carolyn and I are qualified to be judges. That's right. My experience as an attorney and my legal experience, they have deemed me as qualified to be a judge, and I have been impartial for the past 33 years as an attorney, and I will continue to do so as a judge.
Are you endorsed by two bar associations? I'm endorsed by the LGBTQ bar association and the Asian American bar association. Maybe you could be an attorney, you could be a judge, but you're not even trying for the civil court case. You're just trying to get transferred over to another judge case. You're trying to go for a second best. I'm trying to go for the actual seat because I know what it's like to be have racism, sexism, wherever in your field. I know what it feels like, so I can bring sympathy to you guys. Because don't you want someone who will look at your questions?
Thank you both so much. You may be seated.
And up next, we have the 7th New York State District, Anna Kaplan and Jack Martins. Your question will be about property taxes. In 2019, Ms. Kaplan, you sponsored legislation to expand eligibility for the senior property tax exemption and the disability property tax exemption. What are your stances on making property taxes more affordable for seniors and those with disabilities in your district? Yes, Mr. Martins, you respond.
Well, thank you for the question. Firstly, I will say that during my time as the state senator representing District 7, I restored star rebates for homeowners, seniors, as well as veterans. Throughout and also during my time as a senator, I passed a 2% property tax cap in order to curb the growing property taxes that plague Long Island. I believe in giving our homeowners, I believe in giving our seniors, and I believe in giving the disabled as much support as possible, especially considering the state of the economy, following the pandemic and following my opponent's term as a senator. And with the support of my community, I will make sure to lower taxes for everyone in District 7. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, and thank you for the response, Jack. So, like Jack, I did serve state senate, and I am the incumbent, but I actually have also placed property tax on property taxes, 5% actually, and I continue to make sure that Long Island is affordable for everyone. So that includes when I increase funding for schools, I'm making sure that property taxes don't increase with it, because it's important to make sure that our tax money is being allocated into the right places. Tax properties, and also just property taxes in general. It's also important to make sure that homeowners, especially ones that are of older age, have access to these affordable housing plans. So I've already actually done that in my first term as state senator. I secured affordable housing for a bunch of seniors in my district, and they have continued to prosper because of that. And I think, Jack...
Thank you, Ms. Kaplan. Mr. Martins, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
Well, firstly, I would like to thank my opponent for that amazing response. We both share a lot of similarities in our policies, but something I would like to say is that during my opponent's time as a senator, there's been no improvement regarding taxes. Our New York's income, property, and corporate taxes are the highest they've ever been throughout my opponent's time as the state senator. And if I am elected, I promise on lowering those taxes. I plan on delivering on time balanced state budget.
Thank you, Mr. Martins.
Thank you.
Ms. Kaplan, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
Thank you. I'd like to quickly rebut that actually. I would like to fact check you too. I actually delivered a $2.2 billion homeowner tax rebate. So it is in fact not true that nothing has changed during my term as senator. And also I've cut state income taxes for the middle class to the lowest level in 70 years. So fact check that, Jack Martin. What have you done besides getting kicked out of office?
Say something! Thank you, Ms. Kaplan, and Mr. Martins. You may take a seat.
Congressional District, Nadia Velasquez and you will both be given 2 topics. The first topic is on mental health. According to NPR, the mental health response teams have proven to be more effective than police response teams. Mr. Pagan, you said that this is a consequence of police defunding, while Ms. Velasquez said it was more of an inevitability. Where should our attention be focused on, and what do you plan on doing for the answer to the prior question?
I think that both mental health and crime rates being high are both 2 separate issues and that have to be properly addressed. As for mental health, I think a lot of this mental health concern does revolve around if this mental health treatment is available widely to the people. Within the high school population is where we see a lot of mental health illness being widespread. So I think that a large focus we should be putting in mental health counselors within every school. However, and on the streets, when you have violent crime, there is a great importance of making sure there are police on the scene. But there are also non-policing issues. For example, homelessness. If a person's currently in a homelessness position, needs mental health aid. This is not an issue that police have to get involved with. There should be a different unit to be addressing this. But this is not to say that crime is extremely prevalent in the city, and we need to have both of these topics being addressed while not exactly being under the same category.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Ms. Velasquez?
Yeah, so I would like to say that I personally feel mental health is a big issue, especially in New York. I myself did attempt suicide 30 years ago. I've grown since then, though, and I am ready to support those who are in need of better mental health initiatives. First and foremost, I think that anti-Asian hate crimes in the city and in the public area is a big issue, and I think a lot of mental health illnesses stem from that, which is why I funded the Chinese American Planning Council $500,000 to not only create world-class training programs and community organizations, but also create hotlines and other necessary methods to report these hate crimes and get people the justice they deserve so that they don't have to struggle with their mental health in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Speaking towards making sure that this mental health counseling is widely available, I support court-managed mental health counseling because there's a large stigmatization within, especially the high school population, where people may feel uncomfortable getting mental health aid, and at the end of the day, that does result in people steering away from mental health. But this is a conversation that we must be having, and as a result, I support making sure that if people need the help, that they are mandated to get that.
Thank you, Mr. Bergan. Ms. Velasquez?
I also want to emphasize that something that Mr. Pagan did not touch on, the amount of immigrants in this country who are not given accessibility to proper mental health services and other public needs. I personally have funded the program for the Immigrant Mental Health Initiative, which is giving people of all cultures and races the opportunity to reach out to those who they connect with culturally and ethnically in order to maintain a better standard for the future.
Thank you, Velasquez.
And both of your second topics will be about small business. Ms. Velasquez, you proudly serve on the House Small Business Committee. You have passed countless acts aimed at helping small businesses during this time. But people like Juan Pagan say that this effort is not enough to help small businesses, and we need to lower taxes on small businesses. Do you both believe that the current acts, such as the Small Businesses Act, is a step in the right direction towards fixing the economy, or is lowering taxes the way to go?
I think that we must be able to properly fund the small businesses because especially coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, it was extremely difficult to recover. I support low interest loans going into these small businesses so that they can get back on their feet and make sure that they can serve the community. Also speaking towards Lydia's experience on the small businesses board member, she has, over the pandemic when there was rampant looting and violent crime, Lydia did nothing to address the criminals breaking and entering into liquor stores, into jewelry stores. It really speaks to her not focusing on solving the root of the issues.
Thank you, Mr. Pagan. Ms. Velasquez, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. I also want to emphasize that I did not only proudly serve on the
Small Business House Committee. I'm the chairwoman of the Small Business House Committee, the first Puerto Rican woman.
I'm sorry.
And I would like to disagree with Mr. Pagan. I have, throughout the pandemic, supported small businesses. They are the backbone of our economy, and I plan to fund them in greater ways, give them more accessibility to the international markets, as well as more transparency in terms of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And I think personally that small businesses are a really important thing, not only to our community, but to our constituents, because it allows for more jobs, it gives them the support they need in a troubling time. Thank you.
Given that you can handle those things, however, as you so proudly talk about your 30 years of experience, I would have hoped that you would be able to address some of these topics and be armed with the knowledge to properly aid our people during an event such as the pandemic, which you are doing so clearly to speak about, but you will be given the opportunity to do so next.
Well, no, I did. Thank you. I think Mr. Pagan's lack of education, only an associate's degree, is making him a little delusional at the fact that me sitting in office being a chairwoman has done nothing. I would like to emphasize that I have recently introduced a bicameral legislator that will protect small businesses from predatory loans and lenders who are giving them unfair conditions and terms. I think that small businesses need a voice in this society, and I will be that voice. Thank you.
Please welcome to the podium. Okay. Please welcome to the podium the race for the New York State Attorney General, Letitia James and Michael Henry. You will each be given 2 questions. The first topic is on drug enforcement. Since the legalization of cannabis in New York, both of you have advocated for the decriminalization of previous non-violent offenders. How do you intend to enforce the law concerning drugs?
Well, first I want to apologize for being a tad bit underdressed. I wasn't aware that Letitia James would come today since she's the only statewide politician who refuses to debate with me.
Oh no! Let's go, Michael!
And besides to that, I actually support the police. I don't sue the police like my opponent over here. So all the national NYPD enforcement, 13 organizations support me. And with that, I hope to fund the police and actually get them to do their job, looking into criminals and stopping the real criminals from being on these streets.
Alright, so I showed up to this debate, but at least I'm dressed for it. And to enforce these laws, it is important to emphasize the guidelines set in place for the allowable limits of cannabis in New York. And those who do not follow these laws will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. I have actually created a task force that monitors cannabis in New York and illegal drugs, just to keep drugs off our streets. And my task force has busted dozens of major drug rings, taking down hundreds of dealers and distributors in the process.
Thank you, Ms. James. Mr. Henry, your 30 seconds for rebuttal.
You see, I find this funny because I don't see any of this happening with the 30% crime increase in New York while you were Attorney General. So, would you like to elaborate on that?
Yes, I would. So, yes, there has been a 30% increase in crime rates. However, it is not just because of drugs. In fact, during my time in office, I have taken down big pharmaceutical companies and recovered over $1.5 billion to help communities recover.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Henry, you did yield your time to Ms. James, so Ms. James, you still have 30 seconds.
Okay, so yes, during my time, I have busted major drug rings, and I will continue to do so once you re-elect me as Attorney General. And I will make it my priority to continue taking down these drug rings, to continue getting drugs off our streets, to keep all New Yorkers safe, because that is my #1 priority.
Thank you both.
Now we will move on to our second topic, which is concerning fraud. How are you going to use your power as the Attorney General to challenge fraud and corruption in New York, specifically regarding Wall Street and investment scams, security fraud, money laundering, and tax evasion?
Okay. So, in regards to corruption, like I said, I hope to fund the police to get them to start doing more investigations into Wall Street and stopping these money laundering and fraud for Medicaid, Medicare, and all related to Wall Street. But in regards to corruption, I feel like we shouldn't trust our former Attorney General, Letitia James, because under her, Governor Cuomo and many others were corrupt in the system. So what makes you say that a career politician like her isn't corrupt herself?
That's saying something.
Ms. James, your 1 minute to respond.
Okay, thank you. So, I understand the importance of using my power to combat fraud and corruption, and I have experience doing it, unlike my opponent. During my time, I have cracked down on investment scams, security fraud, tax evasion, and money laundering. And as a result, I have recovered hundreds of millions of dollars for New Yorkers. And in addition, I have filed a lawsuit against Trump, a $250 million lawsuit, and his 3 children for fraudulently inflating the value of their assets to obtain tax benefits and loans.
Mr. Henry, your 30 seconds for rebuttal.
Just stop talking.
Well, to respond to that, I just want to get into the topic of bail reform. How are you going to stop corruption when you keep letting criminals out on the street and do things like this? How are you going to start a lawsuit against Trump that's going to go nowhere, wasting your time instead of focusing on the people of New York City? As Attorney General, I'd expect you to start making legislative laws that help stop corruption in Wall Street.
James,
let's go, Michael!
Okay, so you do bring up a good point about bail reform, and I do believe we should relook at that. And also, Trump has publicly praised you. And as I mentioned, I have filed a lawsuit because he is a very corrupt business owner. So, do you really want to elect someone as Attorney General who has not spoken about actions such as these and has not decided if he will continue with this lawsuit if he were to be reelected? That is something to think about.
I don't know about
Yeah, Michael! Please welcome to the stage the race for New York Governor Kathy Hochul and Lee Zeldin.
Let's go, Zeldin! Let's go, Lee! Let's go, Zeldin!
2 topics. Thank you, audience. Thank you. We each will be given 2 questions. Your first topic is identity and reproductive rights. After the overturning of Roe v. Wade, many New Yorkers are concerned about the fate of abortion and LGBTQ+ rights. What are your stances and policies regarding this concern?
We're trying to silence him!
First of all, I actually want to start doing a little gesture. Lee Zeldin doesn't need notes to talk. He talks from here. So on my policy of abortion, I've continuously promised the great citizens of New York that I won't do anything to interfere with their abortion access. Nor do I have the ability to do so because of how deeply written it is into our state law. This is just a constant smear attack by Kathy Hochul to shift away from the issues that are really affecting people in this state like all of you. Issues like crime, inflation, housing, real problems that the candidates behind me have spoken on today, and we're here talking about abortion. Something that I've continuously sworn off that I would do nothing to do and make sure that people have the same abortion access in this state as they do right now once I am your governor. Thank you.
Let's go, John
I would just like to say, instead of not focusing on abortion and reproductive rights, that we should focus on it, because as the first woman governor of New York State, I feel like that is a pressing issue because of Roe v. Wade. Don't you think that women's rights are important? As he has voted against abortion rights several times.
Audience, thank you.
Let's go, Lee!
Audience.
Okay, you say I voted against abortion. Which is true, I did once vote against abortion. My abortion values come from the pro-life values that I have from raising a family with my wife and my 2 daughters in Mastic Beach, Long Island. She said she's our first female governor. How did you get to be our first female governor, Kathy? Nobody's voted for you. Lieutenant Governor under Andrew Cuomo, who sexually assaulted 6 females in his workplace. You want to talk about female rights when you work under a sexual predator?
Yes,
and doesn't have to pick and choose when he actually reflects the law.
No one voted.
Audience? Thank you. Thank you both.
We'll now be moving on to...
Let's go,
So approximately 49% of New York City's 3rd and 8th graders passed the New York State reading test in 2021, while only about 38% passed the state math exam. It is explicit that the COVID-19 pandemic has had a substantial negative impact on education. How do you plan to improve the quality of this public education and combat the setback caused by COVID-19?
Do you know what I hear? I hear numbers. And what that is, that's just Common Core. I believe in school choice. Common Core restricts our students. Everyone here today is a fantastic student, yet you guys are held to the same number standard as everyone else. No one should be reflected by a pure number grade. I believe in school choice. It should be between the students, parents, and teachers, not the government, to decide what their student should be learning and how their student accurately reflects a certain number grade, or if they can solve a certain equation. That is unfair to our students, and that constricts them from their potential. They should be putting their time into what they're passionate about, not into getting an 85 on their math test for the state. I don't believe in that stuff. That is not working for our students. It's only working for our government to have talking points like that question I just heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Yes, Southern. Yes, Southern. I love you, Lee.
So I would like to touch on that. I would actually like to increase early access education to our children because I do feel like the education system should be better and should be improved, especially for our children. And to improve the education system overall, I put in millions of dollars towards putting in more teachers, staff, and everything like that. I've actually put in $35,000 and towards making more teachers and more just staff overall. Because that's how we need to fix the education crisis. I did not hear any ask. Can you touch up on what you're going to do for the actual education?
What does everything like that mean?
I wish I didn't just say I believed in school choice, and I believe there should be no more Common Core, and that education should be between students, parents, and teachers. Must have fallen on deaf ears. That's okay. Do you know what's also fallen on deaf ears? Kathy Hochul saying that she didn't support Cuomo anymore. Do you know all of her major donors are the same donors that supported Andrew Cuomo? She's lying to you twice in one statement. That's ridiculous. You know what people ask me a lot? I've already touched on education. They ask me why I walk around with the New York flag. Joe Pitty, can you please raise that flag for me? Yeah! With this flag, because our state is under a state of peril. Crime is out of control. Economy is out of control. And we're here having Kathy Hochul, our governor, saying that I didn't say my education policy? She doesn't know what's going on. She's lost. She never had any votes, and now she's pretending she knows what she's doing. She shouldn't even be up here.
Let's go! Let's go, Southern!
I was quote-unquote endorsed by Andrew Cuomo. How about you're actually endorsed by Donald Trump?
Candidates, thank you.
I believe that we should have a government that does not reflect a mini Trump, and we should not repeat what has gone on in previous elections. We should have a governor that does know what she is doing and has earned her right and will earn her right again as governor of New York State. Thank you.
Why are you doing another thing?
Thank you. Thank you. That is the end.
I go.
Audience, thank you.
You two may take a seat. And now we will open up these questions.
Thank you.
I love you.
And now we will open up our questions to you guys, the audience. So you can call up any of the candidates currently on stage right now to ask a question. Yes, raise your hand. I'll come to you.
What is your question?
Thank you so much. So I have a question for all the candidates right now.
Please keep it to one candidate.
Okay, specifically Kathy Hochul, because I feel that education is an important issue in our state. LGBTQ issues have been hotly debated in schools, and teaching these ideas to our children has now become hotly contested. For example, in Florida, Ron DeSantis has banned the teaching of these ideas in our school. So I ask you, will you make sure that students can consistently be allowed to be taught these ideas and that all students can kiss the homies? Thank you.
Of course, as a supporter of the LGBTQIA community, I will definitely ensure that it is being taught in schools because students should have a choice in learning about these things and being able to express themselves and learn more about their identity.
All right. Second question.
Release Elvin.
Okay, this question is also for Hoko. So Hoko, you've been saying that you're gonna do all this stuff, right? You're a governor right now, so how come you're not doing anything about crime and all this stuff? Yeah!
Can you be more specific about stuff in the just crime?
Yeah, education also. You say you're gonna do everything for education. What have you done for education?
Thank you for another question. I would just like to say that I have yes, it has increased, but I have put legislation forward as well as with transportation. I have put in 1,200 more police officers within subways to monitor who goes in and who goes out of subways and like the overall transportation. I've also passed legislation that made it harder to, well, basically gave restrictions towards who can own a gun because as Lee Zeldin's like home was actually a victim of gun violence, I feel like that's an eye-opener and would place more restrictions, but I'm not sure. So. Thank you, Ms. Vogel. Questions open. Yes.
So no more questions for Kevin Vogel, please.
We need one for Lee Zeldin.
Before we move on, let's quickly, we have like, let's say 15 seconds.
Lee Zeldin?
So she brought up the attack on gun violence on my Mastic Beach home. That was an attempt to scare me. I was alone. It was just my daughters at home. That's all it was. And you're talking about that as a talking point. You're using the trauma that my daughters have to live through as a talking point to try and get your status as governor. What does that say about the kind of person you are? I know what gun violence looked like. I fought in the military. I was deployed in Iraq. I served as lieutenant colonel. I know what it's like to be people. You know what? I want to get here right now. I want to be with my people.
Let's go!
Alright, let's take one more question.
We'll take one more question.
Let's make it not before the governor.
Can you hear me?
Yes, who are you?
Hello, Mr. Zeldin. I just have one question about your Common Core system. Well, we're talking about third graders, so about 1/3 of the third graders actually passed the math exam, but you're saying that we should get our own individualized education plan, even though they don't have any competency in like multiplication. So how would you even like set like a standard system for schools in general to like make sure that they're actually forming those common skills that they need for life, or are we just leaving it to schools in general to make up their own rules and then just have kids go through the school without any multiplication or any arithmetic skills?
Could you quickly simplify the question?
I said way too much.
Okay.
How would you make sure that kids have their basic arithmetic skills by the time they get into middle school?
Sure. I believe that there are deficits in our school's economy, and our school's funding right now. Our schools do not have equal funding. What Kathy Hochul's passed is bills to reduce charter schools, which make it more difficult for people to attend charter school. I believe in educational tax credits for parents who decide to send their children to private schools because they don't believe in the fact that they're going to get the proper education out of public school. Which is ridiculous. That's a belief that we have in New York. That there's a reason why people are sending their kids to private school. You talk about arithmetic and kids not being able to meet the third standard. Never did I say that there aren't any standards that kids should be meeting. I just said that the education should be adapted depending on where they live or where the school is located. It should be more applicable. It shouldn't be a statewide, same system of education for everyone. Thank you for your question.
Let's go, Lee!
I'm afraid that this is all the time that we have. Please give one more round of applause for our amazing candidates.
I love you, Lee Zeldin! I love you! You're my number one fan!
November 7th, you all need to vote. If you weren't registered, you cannot vote. If you are registered, vote November 7th.
All right, wait, very important announcement.